Hey, if you can find I just ran into Andy Fleming just now in the Skywalk. Andy Fleming, of course, is with Brother Trucker, and that tune, Downtown, is one of their gems. Nice to see Andy out doing his day job. Wouldn't it be great, though, if you can get to the point where all the wonderfully talented people of the world, whether they be artists or musicians or dancers or actors and actresses, wouldn't it be great if they could just make a living doing what they love? You know, some of that happens. There are folks who are able to do that, but be nice to get to the point where culture and creativity is so much appreciated in our society that if you're good at it, dedicate yourself to it, you can make a living doing just that. Anyway, it's great to see how far we've come on the cultural front in this state, and again, that there's a lot of people who deserve credit for that, and one certainly is Zach Mannheimer and Matt McIver with the Des Moines Social Club. I've been so impressed at seeing what they've been able to do in downtown Des Moines, and now with this massive campaign to rebuild a fire station for a social club. My hat is off to them for the tremendous effort that they put into that. And actually, my hat, by the way, I don't know if you can see this or not, but I have a feather in my cap. Yeah, how many people can say they literally have a feather in their cap? It's a little bluebird feather. Now, I put it on this morning and I forgot it was there, but it's still there. It survived a 2.5 mile walk today. So anyway, I got a feather in my cap and I'm proud of it. I'm also proud of the fact that we have so many good organizations and people and businesses behind this program, including the Iowa chapter of the Sierra Club, Iowa Physicians for Social Responsibility, and the Great March for Climate Action. As of today, by the way, there are now 13 states have marchers who have signed up and been accepted to march in the climate march next year. This is exciting. 13 states. I think that's one more state than have marriage equality for gay and lesbian people. So, you know, we're I don't know what that means, but anyway, it's kind of cool that we have so many people in just the first 3 weeks of soliciting applications that we've already got 13 states represented. Very nice. All right, real quick, again, I want to thank my business supporters as well. Gateway Marketing Cafe, thank you, folks, for supporting this program. Great place for groceries and breakfast, lunch, and supper. All right, lots to talk about today. More on the Toledo home, the juvenile home. Yes, more developments on that, I'm afraid. I've got a word of criticism for President Obama on his decision not to meet with the president of Russia. I'm not sure why he would make that call. I've got a couple other things to talk about as well, but the first thing I want to get into is something to do with babies. So if there are a lot of babies listening to this program right now, you know, put down your toys and start paying attention. We're going to talk about something that's right up your alley. Okay, all right, maybe babies' moms and dads should be the audience here. Apparently, there are companies that are violating advertising laws. This has been alleged by the group Campaign for a Commercial-Free Childhood. And again, not just violating the laws, but doing so in a way that is presenting information that is patently false. They're landing lawsuits, and the The lawsuits are sticking. These companies are having to pay. One of them had to shell out $185 million settlement. Okay, the scoop is this. This group campaigned for a commercial-free childhood. I love that name. And on that subject, I do not know what the current figure is, but not too many years ago when I last researched this, the average American sees on average 30,000 commercials every single year. 30,000 commercials. The average American, again, this is a few years back. I don't know whether it's gone up or down. The average American watches about 5 hours of TV every day. And somebody is making up for me because I don't even have a TV. I know I'm in front of one for an hour a day and I don't even own one. There's something wrong with that? No, actually, I think that's not a bad idea. 5 hours a day. Okay, that's a lot of screen time. That doesn't even include computers, games, whatnot. So, I love the idea of a commercial-free childhood. The only thing that would be even, almost as good as that would be a commercial-free adulthood. But we have a ways to go on that. And this group is focused on one specific thing, on video applications that present themselves as critical, if not helpful, even critical for kids to learn quickly, effectively, as much as possible. And so, they've been advertising these toys. One of them is, Fisher Price. The two companies, two of these baby app developers. That's what they're called. The baby app developers, Fisher Price and Open Solutions. The allegation is that they are trying to fool parents into believing that these online games that they're encouraged to purchase will make their kids smarter. Not just, toddlers, but actually infants as well. Get your baby, who's not even a year old in front of these apps, and they will be smarter kids. So one of the allegations is against a video app called Baby Einstein. Love the name. Baby Einstein videos. And this lawsuit eventually led to a nationwide consumer refund. And it's urging the government to investigate the marketing practice of not just that, of the Laugh and Learn mobile apps as well, and also the Baby Hear and Read and the Baby First puzzle. So there's a whole bunch of them that this campaign alleges are falsely advertising what benefits parents can see from their kid using these toys. Okay, it's the campaign's first complaint against the mobile app industry as part of its broader push to hold accountable the businesses that market these technologies to the very young. I mean, we're talking very, very young. Okay, so Susan Lin, she's with the campaign for commercial-free childhood. She says, quote, everything we know about brain research and child development points away from using screens to educate babies. That to me is like a duh moment, of course. I mean, why would you think that plopping your kid in front of a screen is going to replace some of the much more sensible things you can do to educate that child? She goes on to say the research shows that machines and screen media are really an ineffective way of teaching a baby language. What babies need for healthy brain development is active play, hands-on creative play, and face-to-face interaction. And I'm having a hard time understanding why that's even in question. Of course, I know why, because you can't make money. A corporation can't make as much money on just having your kid go out and play, interact with you, with other babies, with other kids. If they can sell you an app that gets that kid hooked on additional apps, then they're going to make money. And so, again, the allegation is that the companies violate the truth in advertising laws when they claim to teach babies skills. And for example, this is from the Associated Press story. For example, Fisher Price claims that the Laugh and Learn app called Where's Puppy's Nose? I want to see that just to understand more about what that's about. The Where's Puppy's Nose app can teach a baby about body parts and language. That's what the contention is made by Fisher Price. While its Learning Letters Puppy app educates babies on the alphabet and counting to 10. And the Open Solutions, one of their apps, is called a new and innovative form of education that allows babies to practice logic and motor skills. Okay, so interestingly, when the Associated Press reporter Ann Flaherty contacted these companies by both phone and email, neither responded to requests for comment. Then that always makes me really suspicious when whether it's a government agency or a corporate office, that when they refuse to respond to questions, there's something going on there. Okay, so Susan Lin, again with the campaign trying to do something about this, says, given that there's no evidence that mobile apps are beneficial and some evidence that it may actually be harmful, that is of concern. Okay. Now, again, federal law does state that advertising, and I'm actually surprised that some of these corporations haven't lobbied harder to change these laws, but we've had some good campaigns over the years to make sure that consumers are protected, that there is truth in advertising. And federal law does say that advertising cannot mislead consumers. In some cases, it says that any contentions you make in an advertisement needs to be backed by scientific evidence. Okay, so in 2012, the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, that's the agency that enforces truth in advertising laws, it agreed with the campaign. This is just last year. It agreed with the campaign for a commercial-free childhood that the developer of Your Baby Can Read. The FTC agreed that the company lied when it promised consumers it could teach babies as young as 9 months to read. Now, again, parents should probably have figured that out. But again, when you've got, you've got a very slick piece of propaganda, and we're inclined to want to believe other people. I mean, we are by nature trusting for the most part, especially when something is presented in a very, slick and polished and professional manner. We want to believe that they're telling us the truth. Well, they aren't. That is scientifically unfounded. Again, as Susan Lin points out, there's probably as much evidence to suggest that the time spent with these apps could even be detrimental to a baby's ability to read, to learn. So what happened in this case? The FTC, imposed a $185 million settlement. It basically fined the developer of Your Baby Can Read in 9 months, 9 months from birth, $185 million, and that led to that business closing down. Good riddance, I say. Sorry, just as well. Now, interestingly, I did not know this, but 2 of these companies are owned by Walt Disney. I did not know that. So Walt Disney has been responsible for the false advertising. Now, I'm a little disappointed in the FTC because they had originally taken action against Walt Disney, but then decided not to act after Walt Disney agreed to remove some of the marketing promises from its packages and took down some of the testimonials that claimed educational benefits. So, yeah, I mean, that's good that they did that, but it would probably have sent a stronger message to Disney have they actually had to pay some kind of a fine. And yeah, if it's a class action lawsuit, that usually means that people who bought this product under a false premise deserve, and if the lawsuit is effective, victorious, they receive some compensation. That's as it should be. And I think that's a stronger message to the corporation that makes the false advertising claim. Than just saying, okay, you've changed your practices, we're going to let you off the hook. Yeah, they changed their practices, that's good, but there are still people who purchased the product based on false claims, based on an understanding that their baby was going to be Baby Einstein if they purchased this app. And the parents are well-intended. But let's get back to the reality. What has worked for kids for millennia is probably what's going to continue to work for them. I mean, it's not like we're the first smart babies to come along in the history of the universe. There have been smart kids and smart adults throughout history. Maybe they're dealing with less technology, less innovation, less science, but that doesn't mean they're any less intelligent. And that's one of my problems about the whole development of Western civilization. It is assumed that more primitive peoples are less intelligent. It's really, well, let's call it what it is. It's racism. And it is so, it's cultural arrogance. And it leads to this kind of thing where you've got folks who end up believing that the solution to them having a smart baby is some kind of technological gimmickry. And we should know better. We should know better. That's not the case. And again, I commend the Campaign for a Commercial-Free Childhood on taking a shot at this and winning. Now, again, I put a couple things together here. We had a big event here in Des Moines this past week, and the Big Latch On, which was tremendously successful, part of an international, and I'm still not sure whether they set a new record in terms of how many mothers across the globe participated. Last year, I think it was like 8,500. This year, it may have been more. But some of the interesting conversation that has come out of that, and an interesting email I received too about how breastfeeding itself is shown to be a greater contributor to childhood intelligence than any other thing you can do almost. Anyway, I want to share that with you when I come back from a short break here, folks. We got more to talk about today too, including the situation at the juvenile home in Toledo. But we'll talk about that when we come back. Again, I want to thank Gateway Marketing Cafe for sponsoring this segment of our show. And if you're inclined to walk, I mean, there are more and more of us out here getting ready for next year's March who are trying to add miles to our week. We're doing that Sunday morning. It's 9 a.m. 9 a.m. we're going to get together at Gateway Market, take a long walk, come back for a nice, hot, well, in my case, hot brunch. Anyway, join us for that if you like, because Gateway does have fantastic breakfast, lunch, supper, meals all day long, and a grocery store where a lot of the products they sell are from local farms and local producers. I also want to thank Dan Kelly and his real estate business in Newton for helping to sponsor this program. Dan will be back with us next week as we talk water quality and agriculture. We're going to hear from a city guy, well, Newton, kind of a city guy, talking about agriculture. But Dan also in his spare time, is a real estate agent who sells and buys property in Newton. So if you've got something to look at Newton, give Dan a shout. Also from Newton, Diana's Wedding Cakes, one of my other business supporters. And again, that speaks for itself. You got a wedding? I know Maddie's already had hers, so she can't have a wedding cake anymore. But if you've got a wedding coming up or maybe some other fantastic event, give Diana a shout. And again, all the information about my business supporters and other advocates are on the Fallon Forum website at fallonforum.com. I'll be back in just 2 minutes.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
Well, good morning. This is the 7th of June in the Lord's year 2010, and this is day 1 of webcast1live.com. We will begin with Max World Live with my special guest, Tom Coates. In just a minute, there's Tom. Wait. Howdy. And we will be live for the very first time on Webcast One Live. Someday we're going to look back on this and say, gosh, remember that old day in history? Wonder where Walter Cronkite was. He must have been around hanging there too. But actually, it's the beginning of Webcast One Live. And thank you for listening. Thanks, Rob Spearman, and everybody who's put together this project together. And we're ready to go live now. So thanks for listening to MaxWorldLive.com.
I can't tell you that it's going real well. well from time to time, but it is going.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
That is Mr. Baber's Neighbors, and we're back to our conversation here on the Fallon Forum. I want to thank the Immigrant Entrepreneur Summit for sponsoring this segment of our show, and I want to find a pen that writes. Maybe that'll happen before the end of the segment. The Immigrant Entrepreneur Summit is coming up on November 9th, and again, you know, I'm always excited to see somebody who starts their own business, because usually if you're going to go into business for yourself, it's usually about something you feel passionate about. It's good. I mean, I feel sad when I see people who are leading lives that where they're not excited about their work. If you want to, the best way to feel excited about your work is to do what you feel passionate about. Make that your economic opportunity. And a great way to learn how to do that in terms of the nuts and bolts, the logistics of it, is go to the Immigrant Entrepreneur Summit. You don't have to be an immigrant. Well, we all are. I go back about 70 years. Maybe 80. But yeah, we all have some roots, and this is a great opportunity to learn how to work with the new healthcare system, new changes in the tax code, writing a business plan. It's only $35 for the whole day, so do check it out, folks. It's a great opportunity. I also want to thank Tally's Restaurant, Bar, and Catering for sponsoring this segment of our show. Tally's is up in Beaverdale, on the Beaverdale Strip there, right in downtown Beaverdale. And again, they've got fantastic selection of food, a very creative menu put together by owner and chief chef Robert Sanda. And my favorite place to be this time of the year at a restaurant is up top on the roof at Tally's, where it's a great view and also just a wonderful ambiance. They've also got seating on the street level as well. I also want to thank Sargent's Garage at 6th and College, where they've been fixing cars for a long time, including about 4 generations of Fallon mobiles. The most recent one, the one I hardly ever drive anymore, that has 237,000 miles on it, I've not even been in for an oil change in over a year. I think I'm almost due, but that's how little I drive the thing. But I tell you, everybody I've sent to Sargent's has come back happy. I've not had a single person complain that they didn't get great service at Sargent's. Sometimes you go to a garage and they'll try to tell you to do things you don't need. You don't want that. You want to go into a garage and you want a guy like Graham Gorman who says, you really don't need that done. So, that's my kind of a small business owner. I've seen that at other small businesses as well, where I don't see that as at some of the big chains where they want to sell you everything they can possibly sell you. All right, so we're going to get into the conversation about the Toledo juvenile home here shortly, but first, wrapping up the conversation about the campaign for a commercial-free childhood. Campaign for a child-free commercial. How would that be? Again, the allegations that some of these companies are making, or the false advertising they're producing, that your child will be smarter if he or she, plays with this app. Even the one that promises that your kid can learn how to read at 9 months. 9 months. The truth is that you learn a lot more from play, from actively engaging with the world around you instead of looking at a screen. But again, tying this back in with the big event last weekend with the big Latch On, the public breastfeeding event. Someone writes, and I can't remember, let's see, this is not quite sure where this quote is from, but because human milk is the biological norm, it is actually more accurate to state that artificially fed babies are not as smart as breastfed infants. You could probably make that claim legally, and the FTC wouldn't have any trouble with it because there's science behind it. Again, the science is that, breastfed babies are smarter than those fed artificial formula. There's probably exceptions to that as well, but interesting. There's a study examining breastfeeding and adult IQ. This study found that breastfeeding is dose dependent. Okay, meaning that if an average of 4.6 points, the IQ of the baby is an average of 4.6 points. There we go, lower if the baby isn't breastfed for about 9 months. That's interesting. And it is science, and I'd love to see more about that. Again, I say it's interesting, but it's also logical. There's really no reason why that shouldn't be the case. I mean, if we follow the laws of nature, if we let babies, and let people for that matter, behave according to our design, things should go quite well for us. Again, we've done some amazing things in this world with innovation, and some of it very good. But it should never replace what is natural and what is in our genetic code. And certainly breastfeeding is in our genetic code up to a certain age. And I'm not at all surprised that you wouldn't see healthier babies. So again, yeah, put the mobile app down, get the kid away from the screen, let him or her play, and apparently also, not only will they be smarter for their opportunity to play and act naturally and interact with other kids and with adults, but if you breastfeed them, they'll be even smarter. So good stuff. Yeah, so this is a good comment here. Train your baby to recite words by 9 months, and you get short-term gain, or breastfeed that kid for 9 months, and you get a kid with a higher lifelong IQ. Okay, that's from the website called Breastfeeding USA. Interesting. It also talks apparently about how you can save money on medical expenses through breastfeeding. Okay, so I didn't think I would tie that back in with the previous week's activities, but I did, thanks to some help from attentive audience members. And on that subject, okay, there was a lot of buzz generated by the City View photograph from the Big Latch On, which is remarkable to me. It shows the woman who was breastfeeding at Fong's Pizza and received one of the waitresses came up and paid her bill, or paid part of her bill. She's in the photograph, of course. I think City View was looking for the raciest photograph they could find, and they probably did. What bothered me about this was you got these two guys in the background, the father, the son, and that's fine. That's good that there are a couple dudes in there. There weren't too many dudes at the event. But the photo focuses on them, not on her. And what really bugs me is that it says that they were guarding her. Guarding her against what? I mean, we're trying to the goal is to normalize breastfeeding, not to make it some kind of, scary activity that if you do it in public, you do it at your own risk, and you want big scary dudes like this guarding over you. Yeah, what are we supposed to place 2 guards at every woman who is publicly breastfeeding? So, City View, you used to be more of a news publication. Now you're kind of more sensational, and I don't get it. It's disappointing. City View used to be a heck of a newspaper. I could say at least they covered it. At least they gave it some attention. At least maybe people are talking about this issue a little more now than they would have been if this had not happened. But again, the idea that they need to be guarded, women need to be guarded, come on. All right, so we've got plenty more to talk about, and we're going to switch gears and look at the group home the juvenile home in Toledo. That has been a huge issue, and it is not going to go away. And apparently, the group that brought all this to light, Disability Rights Iowa, who I've got to call, they called me back just before the show, and they're going to come on this program at some point. We're going to talk with them directly. But they're now recommending that the home should be privatized, and I'm not sure I agree with that. But I certainly agree that it needs to be better managed. I think privatizing it is probably the wrong way to go, but I want to hear their argument. And again, overall, I commend the work they've done at bringing the problem of isolation cells and inappropriate restraints to light. Again, very disappointed in the Attorney General's office, in the Department of Human Services, in Governor Branstad's office. But let's talk more about specifically what is being proposed now in the latest development in the Iowa juvenile home scandal. I got to run to a short break. We'll talk about that when we come back. I do want to thank the Immigrant Entrepreneur Summit for sponsoring this segment of our show. Again, check them out, folks, online at iesusa.org, and plan to come to their event on November 9th to learn how to establish and expand your business. I also want to thank the Fighting Burrito. The Fighting Burrito is at 13th and Locust in Des Moines. You get to make your own burrito. You go down the line, you choose what kind of beans, what kind of rice, what kind of meat, all these other extra stuff. My favorite, peach salsa. Oh, and the guacamole is out of this world. Anyway, you get this entire custom-made burrito for only like $6.50. It's a really, really good deal. And again, not only here in Des Moines, but also in Ames on Welch Ave. So check them out. That's Fighting Burrito. I also want to, while we're at 13th and Locust, I want to thank Ritual Cafe. Ritual Cafe has been a great supporter of this program as well. And a place that I love to go for tea, a smoothie, a panini, and for some great music as well. So make them a daily part of your ritual. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershot.
I'm administrative manager
I am the senior technician.
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're gonna do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's going to be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're going to do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed rider it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you gonna say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're gonna be listening. They're gonna wanna know what your challenges are. Then they're gonna come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me. But is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed rider, it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
That is Max Wellman, and we're back to our conversation on the Fallon Forum. Later in the show here, we're going to talk about the a local response from citizens in Des Moines to the thoughts that Bill Stowe with the Des Moines Waterworks outlined regarding water quality. Apparently, he and Governor Branstad are worlds apart, not surprising. Also going to talk a little bit about the food stamp situation in Congress. And there may be time for another couple food item issues as well. But I want to switch gears to the Iowa Juvenile Home. Okay, so Disability Rights Iowa is proposing emergency rules to make the Iowa Juvenile Home subject to state regulations, and wants to remove admission restrictions. I don't quite follow all of that, but let's dig into it a bit. What really caught my attention was their suggestion that it be privatized, if I understand that correctly. Okay, they're saying that Governor Branstad should consider privatizing the juvenile home and should immediately order issuance of new rules that would minimize the home's use of long-term isolation and physical restraints. Okay. I get that part entirely. Yes, absolutely. Again, Governor Branstad seems to be inclined to dig his heels in on everything. Remember the debate on the insurance exchange? He didn't want to do that. Now he has to do it at the last minute and scrambling to make it work before the deadline. He didn't want to budge on Medicaid. Instead of taking the federal Medicaid money, he was willing to spend an extra $150. How much was it? I can't remember the exact numbers now. He was willing to spend millions of dollars more to cover 150,000 less people. I knew there was a 150 number in there somewhere. He wanted to cover 150,000 less people and spend more money to do it. I mean, so the guy digs his heels in and doesn't let go on ideas that everybody else feels are bad. On that Medicaid idea, there were 80 people lined up to lobby against his idea, and not zero were in support of it, and he still dug his heels in. Well, I think he's probably going to dig his heels in on this as well. Instead of saying that, yeah, maybe new rules on the use of isolation cells, or as the facility likes to call them, control rooms. Nice. And the use of physical restraints. You know, if he was to do the right thing on this, he would say, yeah, we'll take a look at that. We'll take a look at that. We'll try to get that in place right away. But I really doubt that's what's going to happen. Now, the part of the Disability Rights Iowa's proposal that I don't like is privatizing the home. Home, wrong word. Yeah, I don't. Privatization has not gone well in state government, or in federal government for that matter. I mean, you look at mental health services have been privatized in this state, and yeah, things are smoother now than they were, but there's still. I mean, when a private company manages mental health services, what's the inclination? They want to make money. Their bottom line is the dollar. It's not providing the best possible service. So you have lots of situations where mental health patients might legitimately need a particular treatment or service or medication, and that gets denied because if it gets denied, the company managing mental health makes more money. I fought Branstad and Chuck Palmer, for that matter, on this issue back in the mid-early 1990s. This is a fight we had way back then, and we lost, unfortunately. Again, the forces of privatization are powerful. They have a lot of money to make their case. We see it happening with prisons. I mean, we haven't had that situation in this state yet, but there are places around the country where prisons have been privatized, and we've seen what happens. The most notorious case involves a judge in Pennsylvania in the Scranton district, that judicial district, who made a bunch of money off a new private juvenile home, a detention center, much like what we have here, Meyer Hall, and then he filled that place. He filled that place with kids in order to maximize, because every kid that went there, the prison made money, so. And it was becoming clear that this was that his decisions were not in the best interest of society or the juvenile offender, and in fact, he was found guilty of I can't remember the charges now, but he himself is in prison. Every once in a while, somebody gets sent to prison, and you say, yeah, that's what should happen. Ariel Castro, the guy who kept those 3 women in his basement for 10 years. Yeah, there's no prison cell, there's no prison sentence strict enough, that could possibly do him justice. And I think that's why people tend to say we hope he burns in hell, because, the time we can punish him here on this earth is pretty limited. So there are people like that, like this judge in Pennsylvania, who deserve all sorts of punishment. I mean, but that's the problem with privatization. The motive becomes how much money can we make, not how best do we deliver this service. You see the same thing with military issues. When you start privatizing military contracts, or even the placement of troops in combat situations or in some situation where some kind of security presence is needed, the motive is no longer doing the best possible thing for the money the taxpayers are investing. It's how can we make the most money for our business? And, you know, and I look at the water quality issue. Again, when you privatize management of Iowa's water quality, when you say to the corporations causing the pollution, you know, you go out and regulate yourselves, that doesn't work. And so, you know, we've had conversations about efforts to privatize K through 12 education. We had a conversation about that with Connie Ryan Terrell last week. And that's my concern here. I'm coming full circle. Took me a while, but I'm coming full circle. Privatizing the Iowa juvenile home would not lead to better service. It would not, you know, maybe you would get rid of this particular problem because this problem has become so front and center. But I don't see that happening. I see, you know, and Branstad might actually agree with that part of their proposal. And that would be a huge red flag if he does. You know, the other thing I'm interested in seeing what happens is, will Governor Branstad try to find a way to muzzle this group? Will he try to muzzle Disability Rights Iowa? They are, after all, federally funded. And we have, after all, seen Governor Branstad done a lot to muzzle people and organizations and agencies that have been critical of his administration and or the corporate interests that fund him. I mean, we've seen that in elder affairs, the Department of Inspections and Appeals, where the number of positions that were approved for funding to maintain an adequate schedule for inspecting nursing homes, where those positions just weren't filled. You've seen. And you see that all over the place with the governor attempting. I mean, he talks about transparency, but he's not interested in transparency. He's interested in. I mean, I think really what he's interested in is being governor for longer than any governor in U.S. history. But you know, he's interested in making sure that his campaign cash keeps coming in, and you do that by satisfying your big donors. So. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he tries to find a way to muzzle this group. The proposed emergency rules by DRI would subject the state-run home to the same seclusion and restraint regulations that apply to Iowa's privately run facilities. Okay, and that's that's good, but that does not mean we should privatize the home. Again, DRI is also asking the governor to back emergency legislation that would eliminate outdated laws restricting admissions to the home. Again, I don't know, but that's not something that's come up, and I've not tracked that element of the conversation, but that's worth looking at as well. Okay, so when the governor was asked whether he supports the proposals, a spokeswoman, Janae Jennison, she said just yesterday that Branstad believes, quote, there needs to be a cultural change at the Iowa Juvenile Home. Signs of this culture change are already evident in the new leadership at the Iowa Juvenile Home. Now, that's an opinion that's not backed up by a lot of other people. The, quote, new leadership has yet to be put in place, even though she and Branstad claim that it's there. The home superintendent and clinical director resigned in February, but neither position has been filled. So it sounds more like we have a void of leadership. Okay, so last year, DRI visited the home and found 3 children living in long-term isolation cells. This is what has appalled any decent, civilized person in Iowa. One of the 3 had been living in a 10 by 12 foot concrete block cell for up to 23 hours a day. You know, I'm in that cell, folks, for 23 hours a day, and on day 2, I'm just bonkers. I would be nuts. I don't know how anybody could put up that, and I don't know how any of us could expect a 13-year-old to be in such a situation and not go nuts. Okay, so again, Clark Kaufman's doing a great job on reporting about this. There's going to be more. We're going to have more conversation about this. In fact, Jane Hudson, who is quoted in the article in today's paper, we're talking with her about coming on this program sometime later this month. So anyway, so we'll see what happens. It's not going away. It's just it's one of those things that is too horrific to ignore. And and where there are clear solutions, and those solutions need to be embraced. And again, as Branstad attempted to try to take any responsibility, not for himself, no, not for Charles Palmer either. He wants to shift the blame to AFSCME. It seems like that's always the scapegoat. If you can't blame anybody else, come back and blame the Public Employees Union. All right. Hey, I want to thank Hawk Restaurant for sponsoring this segment of our show, and really encourage you folks to support all the businesses that make this program possible. But take a look at Hawk. It's a new restaurant, been around since November, already doing really, really well because they serve incredible meals. It's at East 5th and Walnut in the East Village, and 90% of what they serve comes from Iowa farms, Iowa producers. Do check them out, folks. That's Hawk Restaurant at East 5th and Walnut. I'll be back in just a couple minutes.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.